Hey everybody, it's Sarah from Never Tasted Better. Welcome back. So the other day I had to ask my husband what type of cake he wanted for his birthday because his birthday is today and I had to come up with a cake for him. And he didn't hesitate with his answer. He said red velvet cake. So guys, I had to come up with the ultimate red velvet cake recipe. And I decided to name it just that, guys. If you don't like red velvet cake, stop being weird. Just try this recipe, it will change your mind. This cake was so deliciously moist. It definitely checked the box for that red velvet classic cake. You could taste the rich cocoa chocolatey flavor, and the classic cream cheese frosting was phenomenal. Starting off our red velvet cake, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Heavily butter and grease 3 9-inch pans. Sprinkle some flour in there, bang it around. Also, I use cake wrappers. That's optional, guys. You don't have to. It keeps your cakes nice and fluffy, and it prevents like a dome from happening, and it prevents hard edges as well. So it's optional. I highly recommend it. Make sure that you're careful not to trip over any tripping hazards. After recovering from our stumble, we're going to start out with our dry ingredients. Using a fine mesh sieve, we're going to measure in 3 cups all-purpose flour. Make sure that you take the time to sift that all through. Using a good quality cocoa powder, we're going to measure in 1/4 cup of that. Make sure you take the time to sift that as well. For our leavening agents, we're going to use 1½ teaspoons baking powder, 1 teaspoon kosher salt. Add that in. And we're going to whisk to combine. Our batter has 2 more parts that we need to do. We're going to do our butter and sugar mixture. We have 2 cups sugar. Add that into a large mixing bowl. Next, 1/2 cup unsalted butter. Make sure that it's room temperature. Also, make sure that it's unsalted. Very important. Sorry, Jack was a little feisty on this video. I don't know why. So go ahead and add your butter in. Using a hand mixer, cream your butter and sugar really well until it's light and fluffy. Next, we're adding our oil, 1/4 cup canola oil. Let's cream that together really well until combined. Once thoroughly mixed, let's add our 3 large eggs at room temperature, of course. We're gonna do one of these guys at a time, beating well after each addition. You can do this in a stand-up mixer, but I love my little handheld mixer. It's so handy. Taking the time to add the next one in, and of course, creaming it really well again. Adding our last leg in, we're going to cream it one more time. Make sure you take the time to scrape down the sides, also the bottom of the bowl, scrape it up and fold it over. And I guess I lied, we will have to mix this one more time, guys. Our third part of the batter, we're going to need a large mixing bowl again. Hopefully you have 2 large mixing bowls. We're going to take room temperature buttermilk. We're going to need 1 1/4 cups worth. Pour that in. We're going to need 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Add that in. We're going to need 2 teaspoons of white vinegar. Add that in as well. And we are going to whisk everything until it's combined. So I have here Super Red Food Coloring by Chef Master. This is really hard to find in the store, so I ordered it off Amazon.com. I actually used regular red food coloring before, and I didn't get that really awesome rich red velvet cake look that I wanted. So go to Amazon.com and order the Super Red. We are going to use 3 tablespoons of this Super Red food coloring. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of our Super Red food coloring into our buttermilk mixture. Make sure that you're careful when handling it. I'm a messy baker, so I wound up with some of it on my hands. And then I handled my phone, and yeah, that was a mess. So just be careful. Once your food coloring is added, we're going to mix it to combine. Look at that beautiful blood red color. I love it. I was so happy with this red dye. Definitely worth the purchase. Now for the fun part. I love this part, guys. We're going to add a little bit of flour and a little bit of our buttermilk mixture into our butter and sugar mixture. And we're going to cream it after each addition. Just make sure that you alternate it, a little of each at a time. Doesn't really matter which way it's done. Just make sure that you alternate. As soon as that last addition is mixed in, using a spatula, scrape around the sides and the bottom, get up and underneath and fold it up, and just finish mixing with the spatula. You don't want to overmix it too much. And once you are done mixing, we are ready for our cake pans. Check out my beautiful hands, guys. We're going to start measuring out our batter for our cake pans. Ideally, you would need a scale, but I don't have one, so I'm going to just measure it out. We're going to do about roughly 2 1/4 cups worth of batter in each cake pan. The batter is really, really thick, so make sure you take the time to bang it around in the pan so it'll spread out evenly. Also, these are going to bake at 350 for 28 minutes. You might need a little more time depending on your oven. Also, the extra batter was enough to make a little jumbo cupcake. That will be used for decorating. Guys, look how nice these came out. They are so red. I love it. We're going to let these cool off completely before we frost them. For our cream cheese frosting, we're going to need 2 8-ounce packages or 16 ounces of Philadelphia style cream cheese. Make sure that it's at room temperature. If it's too hot in your house, you don't want it to be overly melty or anything. You want it to be warm to the touch, but also still firm. We're going to need 1 cup unsalted butter. Make sure that it's room temperature. Again, make sure that it's not too melty. Add that in. We're going to cream this with a hand mixer. We are going to scrape our bowl really well, getting the sides and underneath. We don't want any lumps of cream cheese or butter in there. Mix one more time until combined. We are going to add in our vanilla bean paste. And yes, I'm using vanilla bean paste. I love this so much more in my cream cheese frosting. It gives it a whopping punch of vanilla flavor. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. The seeds really stand out in this frosting. It makes it look so much more professional. We are going to be using a 1/2 teaspoon of coarse kosher salt. I love running across a piece of this salt while I'm eating all of this sweet frosting. It gives it such a nice contrast. Let's cream this together. We're going to sift 1 1/2 pounds of confectioner's sugar into our frosting mixture. If you do not add enough sugar, your cream cheese frosting will be way too soft and it will not stay on the cake. If you put some in between the layers, it will just ooze out. And I love frosting between my cake layers. So make sure that your frosting has enough structure to it by adding enough confectioner's sugar. You can add more if you like. I think 1 1/2 pounds of confectioner's sugar was perfect for this recipe. Once you're done sifting in your powdered sugar, we're going to cream it together. And yes, I probably should have added a little bit of powdered sugar at a time. This was a little bit difficult to mix, and it really made me choke on a dust cloud. Take the time to scrape down your bowls, the sides and the bottom. This part is optional. I did just a drizzle of half and half cream. And we're going to cream it one last time. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of the frosting. Can you see the little bean seeds in there? It looks so cool and it tastes so good. Definitely worth buying the vanilla bean paste. Starting off with frosting our cake, we're going to put a little bit of frosting on the cake tray itself, and we're going to use a knife and just spread that around. This prevents it from sliding all over the place when you're frosting. We are going to start out with our first cake layer. Make sure you place it on the tray, try to evenly center it, and start generously frosting using a piping bag. Using a knife, try to make it as even as possible. Onto our second layer, do the same. And with our third layer, make sure that it's bake side up. Lay that down, pressing gently. With our last layer, I'm going to pipe some frosting onto the top of our cake. This is just going to be our crumb coating. Using a long knife, frost your cake really well and scrape it as best you can. Pop it in the freezer for 10 minutes. Now we're going to take our cupcake and we're going to rip it to shreds using our hands. Guys, this is so satisfactory. I had so much fun doing this part. Try to get the crumbs as fine as possible. After your 10-minute timer is up, pop your cake out of the freezer and start frosting. You guys can decorate it any way you would like it. Cream cheese frosting is a softer frosting, so it's kind of hard to do a lot with it. Using a bench scraper, I just tried to make it look as smooth as possible. The look I'm going for is a more rustic, classic look. Using our cupcake crumbs, we're going to start at the base of the cake and work our way up the side slowly. The cake was so moist, the crumbs kind of stuck together, but I made it work, guys, and I loved how the crumb look turned out. This part is optional, but I had some leftover frosting and I was feeling creative. And if I had it to do over again, I would have never done this. I decided to put these, I thought they were going to be cute little frosting tips on the top. And cream cheese frosting is really not the type of frosting you want to try piping with. If you want to do this, and if I had to do it over again, I would have made a buttercream frosting that would have held up. It would have been stiffer. I thought this turned out like, it ended up looking like little piles of bird poop on top of the cake. But it is what it is. My husband was happy. You guys can leave it just with that red crumb look. That's cool too. Whatever you would like. And there it is, guys, all done. A lot of work goes into this cake, but it's so worth it. If you want to bring a showstopper dessert to a get-together, this is the cake to do it with. Do you know what kind of cake that is?
Yeah,
what
raspberry cake.
No, it's not raspberry cake. That's red velvet cake.
No, it's got frosting.
Yes, it does have frosting.
Yeah, I was worried about frosting.
How is it, Henry? Guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, Never Tasted Better has an Instagram account. I think you should go give me a follow. Honestly, I include a ton of content there that I do not have on my channel as of yet. So go give me a follow. If you haven't subscribed, please do that, and we'll see you next time. Bye!